Welcome to the Cashflow Couple Podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, Wendy Williams. How you doing? Here with my husband, John Williams.
See, I like it when I get the intro.
You like that?
Yeah, so we should do that like every time, so it sounds good. Maybe be a little more enthusiastic about it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to need a drink for that.
Okay.
But we have some special guests with us. This is our first guest podcast. Welcome, Phil Witkowski and Celie Levin. And they have been in the real estate game for quite a while, since the late 90s, right? Right. So tell us a little bit about how you got started and what that looked like.
Well, for me, it was actually, there was someone else that gave me the idea. I had a son that was at the University of Arizona, and he unfortunately, I don't know where he got this from, but he decided to let it be up to his 3 female roommates to find a place for the next year. So there were going to be 4 of them renting a house. Unfortunately, the girls were probably shopping and they didn't have a place. So for the next year, and the dorms were getting ready to close. So of course, my son called me and said, "Hey, Mom, these girls didn't find a place." I happened to call someone that I knew at a bed and breakfast. And I said, "Hey, give me your friend Wendy's phone number. She's a realtor, right?" Got Wendy's phone number.
Different Wendy?
Yes.
That's another Wendy. and she said, "Hey, listen, for what it's going to cost you for him to be here for another few years, you're better off buying a place." Well, we were in Pennsylvania at the time because that's where we're from. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, buy a place? What, are you kidding me? So anyway, to make a long story short, she found a place. We paid $93,000. And math was not my... and still is not my specialty at all. So I just said to her, "Wendy, tax, tags, and baggage, what's my mortgage payment?" The house was $93,000. We put 10% down. She said my mortgage payment would be $650 a month with real estate taxes and insurance. Understand that this was in Tucson back in 1996. So I already knew in my head that, wait a minute, I got 3 girls, each paying $250. Well, that's $750. I could figure that out.
Right. And so your math's not all that bad.
Right. But the creme de la crap was the fact that there was a little, I call it a hut, but it was like a little guest house in the back. And there was somebody renting that space. It was basically a 1-car garage with a 3-quarter bath, no kitchen. And somebody was renting that for $180 a month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So now, I didn't know it at the time, that was called positive cash flow. I just knew it made sense. So, and then the best part about it was I realized, wait a minute, I don't have to pay for my son for room and board.
Oh.
So it just so happened that there was a room in the back, because I went out there and tried to figure out who's going to be where. There happened to be a room in the back with its own door, its own bathroom, and I went, that's where my son's going to be. And the rest of the girls will figure out the other stuff. So we kept that, and that worked out well. And then my daughter went to the University of Arizona. So by then he was out, she went in, and her roommates were each paying between $350 and $375.
Oh, so the rent had gone up then.
The rent had gone up.
Nice.
I was getting $200 instead of $180 for the little hut in the back. And then when my daughter was getting ready to graduate, I didn't want the house anymore. So I sold it, and I ended up walking away with a check net for about $91,000.
Wow.
So, of course, that paid for both of my kids' education. And I went, wow, I can do this.
Wow, yeah.
However, I did that, and then took a hiatus on, investing in real estate because I owned a wellness center in Pennsylvania. I was formerly a massage therapist, and I had the wellness center. So I wasn't thinking about doing real estate full time back then. But then when Phil and I got together, I'll let you hear his story. That was pretty good. He made nice money on a property that he bought. I'm turning it over to Mr. Phil Witkowski.
Hi, everyone. My first, venture into the real estate thing, Celie and I were together, and I loved being down the shore. I just said, well, let's just go look, see if there's any properties down there, see what they're going for. We went into Brigantine, New Jersey, the Brigantine Island, right off of Atlantic City. We found a fixer-upper that was $199,000.
Duplex.
It was a duplex, upstairs, downstairs. At the time, I don't recall. No, they were both vacant at the time.
No, there were renters in there. We went into the bottom one.
That's right. We did have a couple renters in at the time, but the house needed, total gutting. I was very hesitant in buying it because it was ugly. Real ugly.
We bought some ugly houses.
Right. And then Celie and I spoke, and
View was gorgeous.
She said to me, well, what do you want? And I started talking about what I wanted, and she says, well, that means you should buy it. Bought the property. One of the tenants left, so we used that, and we went in and started totally remodeling the downstairs. When that was finished, Celie and I were using it. We had the upstairs rented out. So it was partially paying for itself, not totally, but partially. But we were getting the enjoyment of using the downstairs unit as a nice little shore place, go to the shore and hang out on the weekends or whatever. Eventually, we decided that the upstairs was much nicer and much bigger, had the huge deck overlooking the water. So we decided to go upstairs. We moved the tenant downstairs, and then we remodeled the upstairs.
Okay.
And then prices were starting to go up in the area. Things were really skyrocketing. We purchased it. What year did we get that?
Maybe 02.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2002 we purchased that.
Now was this one a traditional mortgage as well? You went in with a down payment?
Yeah, traditional mortgage, down payment with Washington Mutual, and that went through no problem.
No, you're right. It was it 99 or 2000? You're right.
I think I may have. I forget.
Yeah, because we had it for 5 years.
Right. So we used it for a while. Prices were going up like crazy. We finally decided there's too much money in this property to just use it to hang out on weekends. So we decided to put it on the market. We put it on the market in 04, and got some crazy offers, turned them down, didn't think anything of it. 05 rolled around. We finally got somebody that really wanted the property, loved it. And so we decided, I walked away with a check for over $300,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the time that things were really appreciating. And
and things were going through the roof. Mm-hmm. So we got top money for the property and made one hell of a profit on it. And that kind of started things for me and said, boy, we can do this.
And then the mistakes.
But then
and then the mistakes started to happen.
Due to our lack of experience and not having the advantage of being involved with any groups or anyone to kind of mentor us, we said, boy, this is great. So I made the mistake of using my money to buy a property in
06.
Oh.
So you took the profits from that one and
purchased a property for cash.
Okay.
in
Yeah.
Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, and said, "Oh, it's worth this much fixed up,
We'll
so on and
flip
so
it.
forth.
Mhm.
We're going to flip it."
Okay.
Well, again, the thick-headed person, I can do all the work myself, no problem. So it took forever to get it done because I was also running a business at the time. I
What
owned
kind
a
of-
transmission shop.
Oh, okay. I
So
see.
I was running my business and working on the house evenings and
Oh, wow.
weekends.
So were you doing the wellness center at
Yes.
that time as well?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, Celie had the wellness center. I had my automotive business. Excuse me. And so again, not knowing any better, I figured, okay, I can do this myself. I don't need to hire anybody to do these repairs. I know how to do them. I'll do this. Well, by the time I got done doing this house, by then the market was going down.
Oh, yeah.
And now it was, okay, if I sell it now, I'm going to lose money.
Mm-hmm.
So we both made the decision, we're going to move into it.
Oh.
Which we did. We
Okay.
moved into the property, lived in Willow Grove, had it for a few years. And when the market started stabilizing and the prices started to come back up, we decided we were going to go one step further. We remodeled. There was just an ugly basement. So we redid the whole basement, got it looking really nice, and sold it and made a little bit of money. Nothing, not a lot, but we ended up coming out okay.
And
But
what year was that?
12.
We sold it in 2012.
Okay, so the market was starting to come back a little bit.
Yeah. Because when we had it, we purchased it in 2006. By the time I had the house done, the market had come down.
Yeah.
And to sell it then would have been crazy. So we said, well, what are we going to do? At the time, we were not living together at the time. And I was living in a duplex that I bought from my father. So I was living in one apartment and renting out the other one.
Okay.
So we said, okay, well, when Celie was going to move in with me, we figured we need something bigger. And the house in Willow Grove was not quite ready to be sold. So let's just move in there till the market comes back. So I rented out both apartments at the duplex, and we moved into the house in Willow Grove.
Okay.
So that was the start for me.
Okay.
And then we kind of just went from there.
Awesome.
And then, of course, I said, wait a minute, I made a lot of money in Tucson, Arizona. And then my son got married, and I said, let's go buy stuff in Arizona. So we did. We bought and we did it that time with seller financing.
Oh, okay.
And that was our first introduction into seller financing.
Oh, okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
You sold the one house in Pennsylvania. You had a duplex. What happened to the duplex?
Sold that.
So you sold both of them.
Well, yeah, I ended up selling the duplex and made a nice profit on that.
Oh, okay.
And then we ended up selling the house in Willow Grove. But at the time, we felt we needed the house, but I hadn't sold it yet. We were going to hold it for a little while because we were going back and forth from Pennsylvania to Arizona. So we figured, well, why pay for hotels and all that stuff? I own it free and clear.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just use it for a little while till we decide what we're going to do.
Right.
And because we had been talking about possibly moving to Arizona, or are we going to stay in Pennsylvania? But we purchased a quadplex, a duplex, and a triplex.
How did you purchase those properties?
It was owner finance.
Okay.
It was a doctor that owned those properties. That was
His IRA.
and he
IRA,
was
okay.
retiring from his practice, and he went somewhere in Mexico or something like that, and wanted to sell the properties and hold the notes.
Mm-hmm.
So we purchased those properties from him, and they were cash flowing very nicely.
Did you have to put any work into?
Oh yeah, they
those,
all
or?
needed some work.
Okay.
They all needed
Not a
a
whole
little,
lot,
Not major,
not
nothing
major.
major, but and
Kinda
then we did
lipstick.
some optional things that we felt should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And those were working very well for us. And then when we found out there were grandkids coming along in Arizona, we figured, okay, we're going to move there permanently.
Yep.
And that's when we decided to then sell the house in Willow Grove, which we did. We sold the house, made a profit, nothing to write home about. Nothing huge, but we made a profit. And then moved to Tucson, Arizona.
And then 2008 happened. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And what happened with us was all those units were cash flowing really nice. But what happened was they were Section 8. They were mostly Section 8 tenants. And then it was like a triple whammy. The real estate taxes doubled on those units. Then
So you bought the properties from the doctor prior to 2008, then?
Yes.
Okay, so you had bought these properties in Arizona before moving there.
Market.
I gotcha.
Should have had a V8. So yes, we bought them at the top of the market. However, it really didn't matter if they were cash flowing.
Sure. Right, sure.
The problem was that the city of Tucson, their water bills doubled. Now, for the quadplex, we were getting over $400 a month water bill.
And you had to pay for that yourself. Your tenants didn't pay for that.
Right.
And we tried to tell the tenants, hey, listen, if these water bills keep going up, you're going to have to contribute. Oh, well, it's not me, it's my neighbor, it's this, all the excuses. And then that was the same with the triplex. And they were both on the same street. And it just got to the point where we would start shaking when we saw the water bill come in. It just wasn't cash flowing anymore. The real estate taxes doubled, the water bill doubled, and it was causing us a lot of angst. And we were working with a realtor at the time who was a young guy. And we said, hey, listen, you want to take over these units? And we called the investor. And he said, yeah. I said, we're getting too old for this, and we just need to sell them. Is it okay with you? Would you continue to, with the next buyer, would you continue the loan? And he said, yeah, as long as their credit was good, which it was. And we basically gave those units away. We said, here you go.
So they just assumed
They assumed the loan.
Okay.
And they took it over. Mm-hmm. And they still have them to this day. So what didn't work for us anymore worked for him.
Right.
Because he still paid the mortgage, and maybe he made arrangements with the tenants that they each had to pay X amount for the water bills. And so sometimes it works out like that. We were grateful to be able to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have been able to sell them on the open market, probably. Mm-hmm. Right. And they were negative cash flow at the time for us. I have a feeling that those water bills were adjusted once he took over. So, and he still has them. So I'm hoping that, he's doing real well with them.
So what are you guys doing today? So you work together, right?
Correct.
You invest together.
Right. So we have 3 different LLCs.
Okay.
And we still have a few buy and holds. We have a single family house. We have a duplex. And my part of it is pretty much the networking, the acquisitions, doing the research, evaluating whether it's a deal or not. And then Phil is the construction manager. That's what he does. So now that we're in our late 60s, we've decided that we actually need to go bigger. So
go big or go home.
Go big or go home. And being with the Kingdom Real Estate and being with these young kids that are just killing it, I said, we got to do something different. And when Tyler Chef and Todd and Jordan all said, go bigger, my mindset changed. And what held us back was, well, we don't have people that will give us that kind of money. So we thought that wasn't an option for us.
So did you feel kind of stuck in the fix and flip game? Like
Absolutely.
You made that check and then had to go do another one.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, you have to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
The fix and flip for us just takes too long to rehab it. Then even when you get a buyer right away, it's another 6 to 8 weeks. So you can figure on getting paid maybe twice a year.
Right.
And
And then if you have all of your own money into the property,
right. What we did was we did join the local RIA and learned that it wasn't our money anymore. It was investors'
so
money.
you're bringing in private investors,
that, right, so that it wasn't our money.
Right.
But getting paid twice a year just wasn't working anymore.
Yep.
So the properties are cash flowing, but not enough because there's still mortgages on them. So we decided that, we need to take another route. And that's why we're at this weekend, and that's why we're looking at bigger things.
So what are you looking for? Tell our listeners, maybe somebody can.
Okay, so the first thing we are looking for is a senior manufactured home park. We would like to buy the park where the tenants all own their own homes and where they're just paying a lot fee.
Is there a particular location that you prefer, or
preferably any place it doesn't snow? We don't want to be involved with having to have the snow plow come in there, and and it's just less wear and tear. So the southern half of the U.S. would be good. And
are you going to live there yourselves, or
not in the beginning?
Okay.
But it's a possibility down the road that we say, hey, you know what? We really love it here. And if somebody moves out and we take over their unit or buy their unit or buy their home, we could do that too. If it's in a place that we want to be part-time, we could do that. There's a lot of options available at that point. So we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, you have.
Of the real estate investment. It is. It's like a roller coaster. But now I wouldn't do fix and flips anymore, although there's people making a lot of money and they love it.
True.
What was the aha for you that, okay, we have these couple of rentals, there's not enough cash flow for us. Why didn't you just try to do more of those? Why was it, okay, now we have to jump to, this big manufactured home park?
We look back on it now and say, if we had kept some of those fix and flips, even a few of them, or the rentals that we sold or whatever, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. You'd be seeing me at the beach.
Yeah. Well, for us, we found, like you said, you're doing a couple a year. You almost need to cash out. And plus you have, if you're using someone else's money, well, you got to pay them off.
Exactly.
And then there's really, for us at least, there really wasn't enough profit there to then pay all the stuff, all the back bills while we were waiting for the check.
Right.
And then we almost had to go do another one. You know what I mean?
And for us, it was the same thing. You recognize the property, you purchase it, you do your rehab. When the rehab is done, you get it on the market. FHA, you can't get a contract on it for 90 days anyway. So you're going to hold it a minimum of 3 months.
Yep.
Actually, a minimum of 4, because once you get your buyer, you still
it'll take a month to close. It'll take a month to close. 45 days. Yep.
And as much as 90 days. We've had that happen also, where the buyer was qualified, and at the last minute, the underwriting found problems, and then the buyer had to fix this or fix that, and it got delayed. And we've had properties that, it took almost 3 months to close on them.
Well, we have too. We've had one property we there were like it went under contract like 3 times, and buyers just kept backing out. I mean, one of them was like a first-time home buyer, and they had cold feet, and then the second person was they found something in the appraisal, or like it didn't appraise, and whatever. But exactly, we know it takes some time.
Takes a long time. So what happens when you don't have another stream of cash coming in, and your income is coming just from the flip? Well, you're getting paid twice a year, so you have to really learn how to manage your money when you're only getting paid twice a year.
Yes.
So if anything comes up that's not in the normal budget, it really throws a monkey wrench in things. So we said, this is not working. We're churning water here. we're busting our backsides, and when we figure out how many hours of our time
Yeah, it's a time suck.
do we have into each property between the rehab, the research, dealing with the realtors, dealing with the buyers, dealing with all the minutiae in between. When you figure out how many hours you have into it, you'd make more money working at McDonald's. So it's like, okay, I may as well go flip burgers here.
Right.
So we were saying we need a different way to do this.
Yeah.
And we made an attempt at trying to do multiple properties at the same time. And it would have worked out well had it not been for the fact that it's just so difficult to get a crew that you can depend on. So we had, what was it, 3 houses at one time? We had 3 houses that we tried to get going at one time. And I would go from one house to the other. And I found myself killing myself because this guy wouldn't show up over here, and I would start doing his job. And then somebody else wouldn't show up at the other house, and I would go there and start doing his job. And I was running myself ragged back and forth between the different properties. And we were going crazy because now the properties aren't getting completed.
Right.
And we owe private money. So we're making payments on 3 properties. They're not getting done. And I can only do so much. And it just, okay, now we eventually got them all done and sold. But
that was the ugly.
Right.
But in the meantime, it really stressed us out.
Yeah.
Major stressed us out. And we found that unless you are into construction or something like that, where you literally have your own crew on payroll, and you can go from house to house to house, and you give them a paycheck every week, and they work for you and nobody else. And so you can do multiple properties. So you have your carpenters, they start over here, then they move over here, then they move over here. And then your drywall people come in, and the plumber and electrician, and it just becomes like a conveyor belt,
That's what the successful flippers have done. They have created the
but
crew
you have
for
to
themselves.
be able to hire your own crew,
Right.
have your own construction crew, and then that'll make it work. But at one point in time, when I was in the automotive industry, I had 3 shops, and I had quite a few people working for me. And the downfall with that is, the workman's comp insurance and all the overhead. And so I didn't want to go there again with having a bunch of people on payroll. So we had to try to figure out a better way. And that's what we're trying to do right now. Find a way with passive income, with cash flow. And doing, I still have no problem with doing an occasional flip, because if you've got a cash flow, if you have a cash flow,
Celie's making funny faces at you.
I know but
I'm going to kill you if you use that word again.
It's the F word.
But it just comes down to, the way I think is that having the passive income is fantastic. It's the easy way to do things. But the occasional flip gives you that chunk to then turn around and use that chunk to invest in other passive flow income properties.
Right.
So, but it doesn't work when that's your only income. We've tried, and we just haven't been able to do it. But if we create a stream of passive income, cash flow, and do that occasional flip and make 30, 40, whatever, and then take that chunk and break it up, 15, 15, 15, or 10, 10, 10, in down money on each property, purchase those properties, and create more cash flow.
Yeah, and another thing I didn't like about the flips, and I call it lack of control. So there's so many things that just aren't in your control.
Absolutely.
So you never really know what the check's going to be, for one thing. And there's a lot of other factors out there, like we're dealing with right now in our last flip ever. There's someone else controlling my deal because they won't show up and do whatever, this specific piece of work. And that's what I kind of heard you saying too. And that's something, at least for me, that attracts me to the passive income side of it is I know what I can plan that out and say, I'm getting this month, this month. And it's more
predictable.
It's predictable. It's less volatile. It's more stable. I know where my next meal is coming from, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And that's exactly why I said the cash flow is the best way, because then that money coming in is paying your bills. Everything's covered. So when you do that occasional flip, then you don't have to worry about if it gets delayed or or if you end up having to take a little bit more. We had an issue where we did all our homework. We checked all the comps in the area. We went in, did the repair, put it on the market. The appraiser came in and he lowballed the appraisal on us.
Yep, we've had that happen to us
right,
too.
And there again, I don't care what you do, you can't. These people, as far as they're concerned, they're God.
Right.
You can't negotiate them. You can't say, look, here's the appraisals that we looked up. They're all but no, I can't accept those. So you can't negotiate with these people. They put the appraisal down and it kills you for 6 months because it doesn't change. So you have to make a decision. If we don't sell it to the people, that appraisal still stays with it for 6 months. So if you put it back on the market, you still got to put it back on for less.
Yeah.
So you bite the bullet, you sell it, you make less than what you expected. So you still have other people controlling your destiny.
And that's where cash flow is king. It doesn't matter. See, what we see happening also is we also lost a lot of money in the stock market. So now
another place where you have no control, right?
No control. And the thing is, we lost a lot of money in the stock market. When you're in real estate with cash flow, those checks still come in on the first of the month. So when people go into panic because the stock market went down 700 points, you're like, doesn't affect me. Come the first of the month, my tenants are still paying my rent.
Right.
They're paying their rent and I'm getting paid. So it doesn't matter. You're kind of buffered against that kind of thing.
For sure. And another thing that I like about it is I don't really care what the value of my property is to a certain extent.
Right.
I'm really interested
from that.
I'm interested in the check, and that doesn't really change. And in fact, if rents go up, the value goes up in general, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's what's attractive to it, at least to me.
Right.
It's not that I don't care about equity, of course, but it's not my focus like a flip or even like buying a stock. You're hoping to God it goes up unless you short it, and then you're hoping it goes down, but you don't really.
And you got to know what you're doing. And even when you know what you're doing, it's other people that are manipulating the stock market. So
exactly, yeah.
No control.
If we knew what it was going to do tomorrow, we'd all be rich.
That's right.
Exactly. If we all had that crystal ball. Unfortunately, we don't. So being in real estate, having cash flow properties, that's just the way to go. First of the month, our checks are still coming in.
Yep. Amen, sister. Amen.
That's right.
We really appreciate both of you taking the time to speak to our listeners and to speak to us. And John and I really admire the both of you and what you've done and what you've accomplished. And we really appreciate.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We've really enjoyed getting to know you too and listening to your stories and actually meeting you face to face. It's great because we always see you on the computer
we're talking, we're doing the thing on Facebook and then we get to spend a weekend.
It's great. It's great. It's been really, really
our
great.
Game.
Right?
Yeah, and Celie's affectionately known as Fireball. So she sounds very reserved here on the show, but you get to know her and start just kind of out of the real estate and just kind of hanging out, and she's like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, totally.
She really
You're
is.
a fireball.
Thank you. We'll come and see you down in North Carolina.
Please do.
See us in Arizona.
Please do.
So we're gonna find you that. It does not really snow where we are much.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe one day a year. So we can maybe find you something around where we are.
Great.
So if you want to contact us, you can contact us 3 ways. We have a Facebook page, the Cashflow Couple. Email is John and Wendy at thecashflowcouple.com, and our website, thecashflowcouple.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Merci. Au revoir.